Welcome back to Amateurish the podcast. This is episode 10. I'm Logan.
I'm Rhett. Today we're going to talk about big money, free agency in the NBA, where a lot of people got paid. We approached this a little differently at some points, but I've got a whole laundry list of we got head scratchers or losers, winners, some yawns, some spin, PR spin, and then some little bits of goodness, I want to say. So let's start with the head scratchers, the
The
losers.
losers. Okay. Did you focus mainly on teams or players?
This is mostly players. There's a
Okay.
few guys I have that are, no team really signed a terrible free agent,
Yeah, of course.
but some of the deals didn't make a lot of sense. And the first deal that struck my mind was Max Christie. He's already been in the league 3 years, almost four now. And the Lakers signed him to a 4 year, I think it's $32 million
And he's
deal.
making 80 a year.
Yeah, and his production to date doesn't warrant that. And it's not like we've seen massive spikes. Maybe the Lakers know what they have. They did accurately. This is one of the first deals. They did accurately predict that role players would get paid more,
Yeah.
but he's never contributed. I mean, last year it was 14 minutes per game, from 4 points, 3 points, something like that. I, I don't know. Maybe they just see enormous growth from this kid. So I think in that regard, the Lakers are losers, and it's head
Yeah, I mean,
scratching.
I agree with you. It's a head scratching move. A loser as a team for me, I would say the Denver Nuggets. We saw last year, they lost Bruce Brown and Jeff Green, and then this year they lose KCP. So the past 2 years, zero meaningful additions, and it seems like they're failing to capitalize on, their one championship with Jokic in his prime.
I agree to an extent. Um, they did sign Dario Saric, which is it's fine. It
Not a
doesn't move.
really meaningful addition.
No, it doesn't move the needle, but he's a good role depth player. Um, I think we're going to have an argument when it comes to some of the other losers about just how stifling the cap in the second apron are.
No, this new CBA definitely has. We're moving more away from the super teams, except for the Celtics, of course, and more towards like, all right, we're gonna have two stars and then a whole bunch of role players surrounding them. But I mean, the three guys I mentioned in the past 2 years for the Nuggets aren't stars. They're great role players,
True.
and they haven't brought anyone on. And with the West only getting stronger in these coming years, the Nuggets may not win another one with the best player in the world in his prime.
Yeah. But didn't they? I think they re-signed Reggie Jackson.
No, they shipped him off to Charlotte in the draft day trade. Yeah.
Yeah. So the second head scratching move was Chicago's signing of Patrick Williams.
Yeah, the 5 year deal.
$90 million. Keep it in context. Patrick Williams at the start of the season was a complete enigma to the Bulls. They didn't know what they had. They certainly don't have a star.
No.
I'm not even sure he should be a starter. So to give this kid that much money, yes, he's young. Yes, he has potential. His ceiling's pretty high. He just hasn't displayed it at all. I think he averaged 10 points, three rebounds. It's a scratcher because it's neither a rebuild move,
Yeah,
nor a we're still competitive move.
it's a bad omen for Patrick Williams.
Yeah, and then Chicago Bulls. I didn't mind the Josh Giddey acquisition. I get that. I just don't see a lot. They did lose DeMar DeRozan. They got back Chris Duarte. I don't know where they are.
Bad place. Yeah, I agree with you on that head scratching move. I think they are a big loser. Maybe not free agency because besides Patrick Williams, haven't really signed anybody, but just of the offseason, I think.
Yeah.
My next loser, or it's actually a head scratcher, but I would describe him as a loser, is Caleb Martin. Turned down way more money with the Heat to go make what Max Christie's making with the Sixers. Because he bet on himself in free agency, seeing all these role players getting paid, and his agent apparently they didn't get what he wanted. So he went from being, a starter, borderline starter on the Heat, and they offered him. He would have made, I think, closer to 5 in the 50s, 60s, and now he's going 4 for 32 with the Sixers. It's kind of like a Dennis Schroeder bet on yourself, but it did not pan out.
Yeah, I agree. Monetarily, he definitely pulled an Anthony Carter there. Look it up. But I think in Philly, he's a nice fit.
They already have Kelly Oubre.
Yeah, Martin does a little bit different things,
but they're very similar.
They are similar. But they're talking about him starting.
I mean, they just signed Kelly Oubre to a pretty nice sized contract. They're paying him more than they're paying Martin.
Yeah, I don't hate it for the Sixers.
No, I don't. It's not a bad acquisition by the Sixers. I'm saying it's a bad decision by Caleb Martin, turning down more money to go to a place where they already have someone like you.
We're going to see that later.
And also, I don't want to. There is a trend of Heat role players leaving in free agency and doing nothing.
Yeah, and he had that huge playoff spike, and I think that shows you what his ceiling is high.
Yeah, but he's also 29. That's
It was
a bit of a.
It was I guess it was just a spike,
an outlier. Yeah, it's not a fluke. He's a good player, but it's an outlier. And speaking of role players leaving, the Miami Heat are my next loser. I just mentioned all these role players leaving, and like you said, Caleb Martin had a big playoffs 2 years ago, and guess what they got in return for him? Absolutely nothing. They have not got a return for any of these role players that left. They swung big on Dame Lillard and missed. They didn't even have a chance with Donovan Mitchell this year. So their moves this offseason have been sign Bam, good move, great move.
Yeah.
Thomas Bryant and Kevin Love. And then also added Alex Burks.
Yeah.
While the rest of the East is getting stronger. The top. Celtics re-signed everybody, Knicks, Sixers. So in going into Jimmy Butler's last year under contract, where he claims to be all in, why are you not giving him help?
Yeah, the problem here is the Heat have serious cap structure issues. Remember, they still have the $20 million they owe ish Duncan Robinson. Tyler Hero is
a bad contract and not like a
correct.
Yeah.
They may lose Haywood Highsmith too, and I do want to say, of the role players that departed, Max Strus actually
had a good year.
Yeah. Kind of performed similar.
Kendrick Nunn, Gabe Vincent.
Yep. No, 100%.
But I'm just saying, with the Heat, you're going in your last year with Jimmy Butler, and you decide to run it back in a year where you're the 8th seed.
I understand Heat fans' frustration. The problem I see is they're very close to the second apron. They don't have all their draft assets. And they have to figure out the Jimmy Butler conundrum. If he truly is leaving, then it's a rebuild. And the question is, who do you rebuild around other than Bam? Bam is the given. We all like Jaquez. We all like Jovic to an extent. But
it seems like the Heat fan base and the Heat front office have different expectations. It looks like the front office doesn't believe we can compete for a championship, whereas the fans clearly do. And I just think Pat Riley has not had a good stretch of off seasons for a while now, and considering he's 80, I'm just saying.
I hear you. I can't disagree that they've been a loser. I do like the signing of Alec Burks. He provides real. We saw a little bit of what he still can do.
Good scorer, but I mean, it's like we already have Terry Rozier in that aspect. Tyler Hero, guys that are, on one side of the ball.
Fair.
I do not think it's been a productive offseason for the Heat, especially with those top 3 teams in the East all getting stronger.
Fair. So, come to my next head scratcher. and that is the Clippers re-signing James Harden to a 2-year, $70 million deal. Apparently, the Clippers are the only team that don't care about analytics and haven't seen the rapid decline of James Harden as he plays more. Yes, they had that wonderful stretch when everybody was healthy and they were killing everybody in the middle of the season. I get that. I think they're fooled by that. There's no way James Harden at his age with what he can do is worth that type of contract. Again, I understand new arena, Ballmer has to sell tickets, but I think it was better to strip it down,
Yeah.
especially when you have no draft picks. Try to recoup some somewhere, somehow.
I also agree with you that I had the Clippers as my loser, and I'm a Clipper fan. The only thing excited about next year is that new arena. I mean, it looks sick. The team's not going to be good.
A lot of bathrooms.
Yeah, no, it was a really cool arena.
Yeah, and they chose to prefer James Harden over Paul George.
Well, that was I'm saying.
And that's like
They recouped zero assets after trading away the whole farm system for Paul George.
yeah.
You got 5 years of nothing, and then lose him for nothing. In addition to losing Paul George, you have Kawhi Leonard, who is playing on Team USA. Which, if I'm a Clipper fan or any member of that organization, I'm not happy because that's like 12 games. He's only plays like 30 a year.
And Embiid.
Yeah, but I'm talking about for the Clippers specifically.
No, but I'm saying
Also, the Clippers on their team currently have Josh Primo, Kai Jones, and Kevin Porter Jr.
just saying.
Just saying. They did sign Kevin Porter Jr. He should not be playing in the NBA. I just don't. He beat his girlfriend. He should not be getting a contract.
Allegedly.
No, he did it, and he's also been a locker room cancer for 2 places. It's just not a good signing. Same goes for Miles Bridges, but I don't have them technically as a loser. But
yeah,
the Clippers, yeah.
So this is going to be an interesting one because I don't feel very strongly about this, but Orlando's signing of KCP was a scratcher for me.
I disagree.
Okay, here's why. He is a league average shooter, not a fantastic shooter. He's a wonderful player. He's a wonderful defender. He is a championship winning player.
Yeah.
Let's put that aside. He's got 2, I think. 2 in the last
4 years.
4 years. So that's not the point. The point is Orlando, as currently constructed, is the craziest amalgamation of talent.
I 100% agree.
They still lack that shooter.
I agree with you. I hate Orlando's roster construction. However, KCP is a good vet. They didn't overpay $333. That's not that bad.
No, 60.
It was 60.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm confused about.
No, he got a ton of money.
Oh, I thought it was.
He got 20 plus a year.
Okay, but it was 3 years, right?
Yeah, it's 366.
I mean, still with this market, it's not complete overpay.
No,
he's a great veteran to bring in with all those young guys, with the championship experience.
Yes,
and his skill set, is pretty similar to a couple of young guys they have on that team.
Yeah, but they also I don't think they've solved anything. You have mid players in key roles, not bad, mid, and guys who can't do certain things. Like Jalen Suggs, very good player on certain aspects of the game. Cole Anthony, decent player, but they're not guys that are going to spur a run.
I agree with your description, like an amalgamation of talent, and I do think that they should consolidate some of this talent, ship it out, and get something back. They have so many young players that just are like buried on the depth chart because they have so many young players. And you had a lottery pick, Jet Howard, who didn't touch the floor.
Right.
Like, why draft him in the lottery if you're not going to play him? Caleb Houston barely plays. Then you have the most busy front court in America with Jonathan Isaac, who they just re-signed, Paolo, both Wagners, Wendell Carter. Who are you playing?
Let me touch on 2 players in there that also fall into my loser category, both on Orlando. Orlando, head scratcher, re-signed Goga.
Oh, yeah.
3 years, $25 million. I'm mad you didn't take human growth hormone because he averaged 5 and 5 in limited minutes. This guy is earning
8 million,
almost 8 a year.
more than 8, 325.
3 for 20, right? That's right. I just like, wow. Just draft a rookie.
Yeah.
Sign one of those Mohammed Gee. I think he's on the roster, but I'm saying just get a guy. That's all he is.
Yeah.
And then, although this isn't Orlando's loss, Jonathan Isaac, who has accomplished more. Yes, he was hurt. By the way, Patrick Williams, going back, has missed basically a full season and barely plays. I think he had decent games played in 2 out of his 4 seasons, but he's not reliable. Jonathan Isaac been hurt, coming back. He got less than Patrick Williams.
Yeah, but Jonathan Isaacs is the most injury-prone player in the NBA.
Understood, and that was a risky re-sign. I think he had 5 for 84, but Isaac has to be looking like, wait a second, I've actually done something in this league, and Patrick Williams.
Not in the last 5 years.
He's done. He had his first couple of years. He was good.
It's like 8 years ago, dude.
Blew his
All
knee
right.
out.
I covered all my losers. That's who you got left.
2 quick ones. One really I'm gonna touch on, and that is unfortunately Tyus Jones. Once the chips fell, especially the Chris Paul signing, there was no place where he was going to go and start. So his value dropped significantly. Washington brought in replacements in youth and Brogdon. Um, there's no place he can go and start immediately, and he's clearly a starting caliber point guard.
Mm-hmm.
Not an elite, but a good,
it's solid point guard.
Solid point guard.
Reliable for sure.
Yeah, he was very high in assists last year. And a decent scoring average. He played well in a reserve role at Memphis, so he's going to be a good signing. He's, in my mind, the best guy left out there. I just really feel bad for him because the merry-go went around and he didn't get on it, and that's a shame. I'll talk a little more about the Spurs. I would have liked to see them rather than sign Tyus Jones than Chris Paul. Okay.
You had one more left, you said?
No, it's
okay.
Covered.
So should we move on to our winners? My first winner, and I this is not in order, but I think they had a really good offseason, are the New York Knicks. Now, the Mikal Bridges acquisition wasn't part of free agency. However, pairing that along with the re-signing of OG Anunoby, I would describe the East as like the Wings arms race, and to catch up to Boston. Right. And with those two pairing, I have them as the second best team, not only in the East but in the NBA. Okay. I think they're very talented with healthy. Obviously, they lost Isaiah Hartenstein. Yeah. But I think their roster is really good.
See, we approached this a little differently because I didn't always take into consideration like a re-sign, like re-signing LeBron, other than we'll get to him in a second. I didn't really factor that in. If he was basically, that was the place he was going to go, he could be offered the most money by the Knicks. I don't love their offseason for 2 reasons. Obviously, huge Mikal Bridges fan, and I'm a big OG fan. I've been advocating for certain of the teams I like to trade for him for years.
Yeah.
The problem is they gave an injury prone. He's a 60. I think he's actually.
He's overpaid. He's overpaid.
He's overpaid.
But
availability.
They are all in on their win now.
The other problem is by not re-signing Hartenstein, which they couldn't do, they have a hole.
Yeah, their front court depth isn't great.
And so when you're going to face the Celtics with, Kristaps and Horford, you're going to face Denver with Jokic and Gordon. That's not a team that is really, I think, I agree. They're up in the elite of the NBA right now, but they have a lot of injury concerns and some roster fit. And what they do with Julius Randle is going to be the biggest issue.
I agree with you, and I don't love Jericho Sims being your backup 5.
No.
But in talent alone, they got like an all-star squad of role players. Like,
Yeah, no,
They're really stacked in that regard.
it's a
So
good team.
yeah,
Um, my biggest winner, and
I
it's
wouldn't say that they were my biggest
okay.
winner, by the way, but
Well,
they are just up there.
my biggest winner is clearly the Sixers, and that's a sort of a no-brainer take. I get it. They signed the best free agent available, truly free agent.
Yeah, yeah.
LeBron wasn't truly free. And yes, Paul George has injury concerns. He's got playoff production concerns, but the roster fit at 1, 3, and 5 is now elite. But they did some good business. They signed back. They got back Andre Drummond, who is an ideal backup center for Embiid. No, he's not going to play at the same
Yeah,
time. But Embiid's going to miss some games. Drummond is the type of guy who can come in there, give you rebound, and you rely on George and Maxey. They signed Oubre,
Eric Gordon.
Eric Gordon, which was a kind of a surprisingly good sign, and Caleb Martin. So they had a very nice off season, given how much they had to spend, and they probably should and still will pick up like a Kyle Lowry.
I hear you. I agree with you that they had a nice haul of incoming talent, especially compared to their roster last season. I think it's definitely improved. But I have two concerns. A, they're old, dude. Eric Gordon,
Yeah.
you're relying on him. All right. Andre Drummond's past his prime significantly. And then you have two of the most injury prone guys in the NBA compared with that age. Is what I'm saying. I had a friend recently who described so Embiid, right? So Harden was the Embiid of point guards. Paul George is the Embiid of wings in
Yeah.
terms of
Kawhi Leonard.
yeah. But I mean, just like,
Yeah.
are they gonna share the floor for more than 40 games?
Well, but they had a choice when they started free agency.
I mean, it's definitely an upgrade over Tobias Harris.
Yeah, either we get a bunch of Plan B guys and have a roster built around two guys, or we have 3 stars. I mean, Paul George is a star.
No, I think it's a good signing. I definitely have them as a winner. I'm just concerned about how their roster is going to keep up during the season.
No, it's understood.
Especially with, like you mentioned, Embiid is playing in the Olympics, shorter break.
But I like the little things they did to fill out the roster.
Yeah, I don't love Eric Gordon. I'm not gonna lie. I think he's
not going to start for them.
He is. He probably will.
I don't think.
You think they'll start McCain?
They're going to have to probably start Martin. I would think
at the 2.
Yeah.
All right.
Who do you have?
Another winner for me. I know you said you didn't value re-signings as much, but I have the Boston Celtics. If I have to ask, how are you getting all this money? I think you're an automatic winner. Signing Derek White and Jason Tatum to those huge extensions, and then also bringing back literally every single person on the team. I just have them as a winner because they locked up their future for at least like 3-4 more years.
Yep.
They're clearly the favorites to repeat as of now, so that's why I have them as a win. Unfortunately,
well, yeah, you can't debate. They locked up their guys.
Yeah, it's not like a hot take or anything, but I think they very well executed.
They've basically said, we don't care about the second apron. We're going with this core group. We don't care if somebody gets hurt. We know we have nothing to trade other than draft picks. We don't care about the luxury tax because we're getting sold to some
Saudi money,
oil money, more sport washing. But the issue here is, you can re-sign your free agents even with the toughness of the second apron. So it wasn't a great, it wasn't.
No, they didn't make some like super calculated move, but I just think they had a good locking up their future.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now I know we have this team as a winner together. Oklahoma.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't love what they did. I think they overpaid for Hartenstein, but he filled a critical need. And I don't love the Caruso fit, but he's an asset and a valuable defender. So from that standpoint, yes, they're winners. I still think they desperately need a shooter. And I didn't see that step, but okay.
I agree with you because I do think Hartenstein is overpaid. However, they were 29th in defensive rebound percentage last year and 28th in offensive rebound percentage. And Hartenstein is an elite offensive rebounder. So that immediately addresses a need in that regard and pairing a big alongside Chet.
Yeah.
And then Caruso, I think, is a great fit for their system. So those are two players that address needs slash fit their system. So I think they're definitely a winner in my book.
Yeah, I think they took care of 2 out of the 3 needs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the shooting is like
I mean, they have guys who do well.
they have guys who can shoot the ball well. It's not like they're blazing Splash Bros style, but
No. So, do you want to go next? Technically, it's your move.
I had all my 3 winners. I had the
Oh,
Celtics,
okay.
Knicks, and
All right.
OKC.
So, on an individual basis, let me just clear out. Goga is a winner. Another winner.
AJ Johnson of free agency.
He is the AJ Johnson of free agency. But he actually averaged more points than AJ Johnson did in Australia. Tobias Harris, getting somebody to pay him.
He's made like over 300 million in his career for nothing, for zero accolades.
It's crazy. I'm not sure that the Philadelphia fans took out the ad in the newspaper. Thank you, Tobias Harris. I don't know if there's going to be a video package when he comes back to play.
I will say though, the Pistons moves have. I'm confused about what to think because I like their young talent and I think they should have those guys grow. So bringing in a Tobias, a Tim Hardaway Jr., a Malik Beasley, all 3 guys that are gonna they're good enough to start. So they're gonna hinder your young growth. You know what I mean? I don't know what because those players they're not good enough to compete as a team. So why bring those guys in and block the growth of your young dudes?
I did like
they did address shooting.
They did address shooting to an extent.
Oh, why? I just let those guys figure it out. If you're you're not good enough to compete. So why bring in 3 vets?
And it's curious to do it now on the eve of a very good draft where you should be picking very high. They did start to do some good business where they would be a third party of a third team in a trade and pick up an asset. The Bulls did that with Duarte.
He's not an asset.
Well, but he's a young player.
He's like 28, dude.
Young in terms of the league experience, and he has had success in the past. So why not? It's a low risk. They gave up nothing for him.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think Detroit has started to do that. They were party to 1 or 2 trades. Maybe I agree. This is confusing thinking, but this is going to be a relatively hot take. But I really liked the Golden State free agency, the Klay Thompson thing. First, and this is part of my spin. The press and several people out there have said Golden State dissed Klay Thompson. They didn't treat a legend right. How is offering this guy a 2-year, $48 million deal at the start of the season? Okay, he decides to play it out, bet on himself, and he comes back and gets 3 years, $50 million. How is that dissing a player?
No, I agree with you. However, they pulled the D Wade, bro. Like, you gotta have Klay retired with the team. And I know he still thinks he has more juice left than they have.
Cool.
It's sad. It's sad.
It's sad.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And I don't like that they preferred Draymond Green over Klay, but that's a separate issue. That die was already cast. They thought they could re-sign both of them. Klay said no. Okay, well, it cost you money, but don't say Golden State dissed Klay. But I like what they did in replacing Klay. They brought in a poor facsimile, but a facsimile in Buddy Hield.
Yeah, I mean, there's not in this current version of Klay, there's not like a closer comparison.
No, he's
current version because the defense.
The defense is slacked off, and Buddy's never been known for his defense. He's not quite as tall as Klay. They picked up a very good backup in DeAnthony Melton. Don't love Kyle Anderson. He was in my sort of yawns category, but he's a valuable role rotation player. They stretch their depth. Yes, their front court is a mess. Yes, they have to still live with Andrew Wiggins. But for the hand they were dealt, and by the way, they're out of the tax.
I agree with you. I like these moves, but Steph Curry is still performing at such a high level, and they are not. They don't have a second option. Who is their second option? Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga.
It's Kaminga now. Yeah,
That's 10th seed material.
it could be, but for the hand they were dealt, having guys that were re-signed already, especially Draymond Green, they still have the young talent: Kaminga, Moody, Podziemski, Trace Jackson Davis. They
Yeah.
they kept assets there. So if a star comes out, I think they can grab him. Um, One other winner, a
Yeah.
pair of winners, Bruce Brown and DJ, Derek
I
Jones
think
Jr.
you added.
I always do. Um, Personal favorites of mine for various reasons. They are D players, sometimes a three. They both got a decent amount of money. Jones was coveted, went to the Clippers. He'll play a good role for them. Bruce Brown, the Raptors picked up the $23 million team option. Not many people had that happening. In this market, Bruce Brown for $23 million isn't crazy. KCP got affected with his hand.
I mean, it's an overpay, but
It's an overpay, but keep in mind, now it's an asset. Now, once Denver suffers an injury or something, they realize, oh, we got to get something. Let's trade for Bruce Brown.
Yeah.
So that's sort of my winners. And now I'm going to go to yawns.
all right.
Jonas Valanciunas.
The entire Wizards is a yawn.
Correct. It's not a difference maker. Yes, he maybe helped Sar develop. They did have a gaping hole at the 5, but
You mean their two fives who were in the NBA Finals past year?
yeah,
Oh.
those two. Yeah. So, and they didn't overpay for him. It's good business, but again, like you said, the Washington Wizards are clearly in.
No, he had a cheap contract.
Yeah.
10 a year is not.
No, for this market.
Yeah, but it's just like
That's Goga. That's Goga money.
that's Goga money. But yeah, no, it doesn't do anything.
But they do have an asset down the road. Who knows? Dallas. I almost had Dallas as a loser, and it's going to sound a little flaky.
I disagree.
They lost their best defender, and we saw the problem when they lost Dorian Finney-Smith the previous year. They don't have that player.
No, they're not good defensively, especially bringing in like a much hampered Clay.
Yeah.
But I think Clay is the best floor spacer Luka has ever played with, even at this version of Clay.
It's true. He's going to get a lot of grenade shots. There's no question about it.
He'll shoot him.
He'll shoot him. And he's still making it a very high level. So it wasn't a bad pickup, but I think when your general manager says our priorities 1A and 1B are re-signing
Derek Jones Jr. and then you.
Yeah,
Swing
DJ,
and miss.
JJJ. Yeah, it's. I don't know that they're much better than they were. Chicago
As a yawn.
as a yawn
Yeah,
and a head scratcher, and a loser. I do like the pickup of Jalen Smith.
what has he done in this league?
He's
He's
like a 10-9 guy. Surprisingly, he gives them good depth behind Vucevic and adds value. But we talked about some of their other moves, losing DeRozan. Yeah, they want to trade Levine, but no one in the world wants that contract.
Yeah.
They still don't know if Lonzo Ball's healthy. It's a mess, and they haven't committed one way or the other. And you have to tank. If you're going to capture the flag, Cooper Flag, you have to tank now. And I don't think they kind of stayed in that, 12th seed, if that was a seed.
I mean, it is, yeah.
It was a yawn. And then Charlotte and Atlanta. Charlotte, they re-signed Miles Bridges. Putting aside his off-the-court issues, Bridges has demonstrated he's a scoring 3-4. But the problem is, Charlotte knows what they have with Miles
Yeah.
Bridges, and they have to understand that they're not good.
No, they're gonna run it back right to that 13 seed.
Yeah, so it if you're again if you want to really tank, then do it properly and tank. Um, this was a sort of a head scratcher. Atlanta, they didn't do anything in free
Well, they
agency.
did trade. I
They
mean,
did they traded
trade.
Murray,
Yeah, but free agency. Yeah,
but they're kind of caught in the middle here.
I think these past three teams, Chicago, Charlotte,
Yeah.
and Atlanta, are all in similar boats.
Well, I think Atlanta's better.
100%. But it's so confusing to me.
Yeah.
Trae Young's value. I don't understand why he is like his value is so low right now.
It's contract.
Bro, he led the league in like assists and averaged like 27
I
a game.
know, but it's such a huge contract, and he's a small guard, and he doesn't.
He's a
defend.
small, but I understand that. But I think the goods outweigh the bad. Like, who else is averaging 28 and 12 like that?
No, he's a value, but they've got like three different tiers of players. They have the old players like Bogdanovich
He's
and
not that old.
Capella. They're in their mid 30s.
No way, not Bogdan. Capella, maybe. Yeah.
Okay, those guys. Then you've got the the win now guys, and that's
Trash.
Trey and maybe Jalen Johnson.
He's young.
Yeah, but he's
Good enough.
starting to come on. And then you have the new gen,
Recently.
Risa Shea and Onyeku.
Yeah, their timelines are all messed up.
That's what I don't get by Atlanta. So, all right. So let's dive into spin. We talked already about the perception that Golden State dissed Clay.
All right. Yeah.
Then there was the announcement at the start of free agency that LeBron James was going to take a hefty pay cut to get the right guy. Okay. That was bandied about so much. Maybe he did agree to that, but the Lakers knew there was no right guy to get because
Okay.
they weren't going to get anybody. They weren't going to get Clay for the mid-level. They weren't going to get DeRozan for the mid-level. And they didn't want to offer any value in a sign and trade to get either guy. So, yes, he took a $1 million haircut.
They are under the second apron. He did take a pay cut for the first time in over a decade.
True. And I'm not blaming LeBron. I think it's a combination of his, PR people and the Lakers. But this was a fallacy from the beginning.
He did take a pay cut and they're under the second apron. I don't think it's like, wow, it's a big deal. I
No,
agree.
but we were talking a hefty pay cut.
Yeah, well, that's just ESPN doing their Laker LeBron show. Like, you watch
Agreed.
too much TV.
Well, it wasn't just that, but it was other sources. The next spin is, I heard so many analysts say, Chris Paul makes the Spurs a playoff contender, not a championship contender. They wouldn't go that far. A playoff contender, and it's like, wait a second, this version of Chris Paul.
I haven't seen that many takes about that.
I
I like their new roster with the Harrison Barnes acquisition. It's much better than last year. We can agree on that, right?
It is better. I wouldn't say much.
I'm not
better.
saying they're making the playoffs, but first of all, Chris Paul will get Wemby the ball.
Correct, 100%, and when he's healthy.
CP3?
Yeah, when he plays
Yeah,
his 50 games a year, because that's what he's averaged the last few years.
Yeah, I agree. No, but like, there's not a guy better that will just get him the ball.
Agreed. Harrison Barnes gives you very little traction.
I'd rather have him than Keldon Johnson.
I don't know about that, but they're not better. I mean, they're not.
No, they're better.
Way better is my point. They're not. They were like the second lowest seed in the West. Was there somebody below them?
I don't know.
Portland, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
But they haven't.
No, I
jumped.
haven't seen any people say that, and I disagree if they have that they're a playoff contender. But I do think they're better.
They had
And also 1 year, $11 million. Sure.
Yeah, but that's my point. Is I think they should have signed Tyus Jones. I think, believe it
Yeah.
or not, I think the combination of Tyus and Trey, his brother, they would have been a very effective duo. Jones at this point is almost as good as Paul because he's more available usually. I think Washington sat him this year to try to improve their draft stock a little bit. But yes, it's a rental for a year. Fine. It probably makes Wemby happy, but on the surface, I don't think they're much improved. They are improved, but not playoff ready. Um, then there's the Clippers are going to be fine. They have Harden. They have.
I haven't seen any of that.
Oh, I have.
It sounds like you're more on the internet than me with these spins.
I just don't see how anybody could be optimistic about the Clippers given health, declining play.
I'm not optimistic at all.
Their roster construction is brutal. Um, they now, I think, don't really have great outside shooting. They have more depth, but I
Yeah, no, they're off.
I don't agree with that. And then finally, and this is not a knock on the kid, okay? I have nothing against Ronnie James. Let me say that directly to the camera. However, we have gorged ourselves on the 55th pick. He has been the sole focus of the press in the draft, the lead up to the draft, the combine, and now the summer league. You did correctly point out that Peyton Watson actually averaged less than Bronny, at least as points. And yes, I understand he had the heart condition, but then you hear people blame Andy Enfield and USC for misusing Bronny, and that is a head scratcher. Like, what position do people think he's best suited for? He's never been the guy. At Sierra Canyon, he was never the guy. He was a 15-point scorer and has shown flashes of talent. He's very athletic. I'll get that out. And he might be a good defender. But when your comp is Davion Mitchell, and yes, Davion Mitchell went in the lottery, but he's proved he's not an NBA player. All that's fine. But for the Lakers to sit up there and lie and say Bronny James earned a 4-year, almost $8 million contract, no one
Yeah, okay, but that
believes that.
that contract, I mean, yes, Zay Wong last year, 55th pick, made like 800K a year. But we also look, Trace Jackson Davis was like the 57th pick, and he's making the same amount of money as Bronny. Granted, college career, much more impressive.
And
But
he's proved in the NBA he has a skill.
well, he didn't sign the contract after playing yet. But I
Was he a clutch client?
who, Trace? I don't know. But I do think that like the conception, oh, he's getting paid so much more than any other pick, like we can see literally last year, like the 57th, it's not out of the realm possibility.
No, Chris Livingston had a deal worked out. He got paid. But it's hardly a guarantee when you're drafted that late that you're on anything but a two-way.
Yeah, no, yeah, no.
And why not?
And they said he's going to spend most of the season with the South Bay.
And he should.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ready. But okay, we'll continue to follow that story. Then good bits. I think I touched on Alec Burks. I like that. That was a good signing. I think he's still got a little bit of game, and he's a great backup for Rozier. Rozier doesn't play a whole season anymore. Beasley to the Pistons. He solves that.
He's shooting. Yeah, I just don't. Yeah.
I like Caleb Martin. And then here's an under the radar signing, Joe Ingles.
Yeah, but the thing with the Joe Ingles signing by the Timberwolves is like Kyle Anderson out, Joe Ingles in.
But an experienced guy on playoff winning teams. Does he have a ring?
No.
And a good shooter. He helps, and that was sort of a need of theirs. The last team I want to touch on is I don't consider them winners or losers, and that's Sacramento.
Yeah.
DeRozan is still a very valuable scorer, good player. However, the problem is he's not a shooter. And other than Kevin Huerter, he's not a 3-point shooter.
No, yeah.
Other than Monk and Huerter, and we're not sure about Kevin Huerter's future, they don't have a ton of shooting.
No, I do not like their lineup, their current starting lineup, spacing wise, with Fox, Monk, DeRozan, Sabonis. I don't love how that gels together.
No,
I mean, I understand why the Kings did it. They trying to add as much firepower to keep up with this West, and they got two really good NBA players, stars in Fox and Sabonis. So I understand why they did it, but the fit is not there.
No, and he's a high usage guy. People don't think that DeRozan. He's a high usage guy, and Fox is a high usage guy.
Yeah, it's not a bad fit. I mean, it's not a good fit.
Yeah.
I understand why they did it, but I think they are destined for the play-in once again for the past 18 million years.
Yeah, well, they were second a couple years, or third a couple years ago.
Yeah, they got bounced in the first round.
I think they're improved, but again, it's a roster fit, roster construction that I just don't understand. There are teams out there, their fans are going, why didn't we do anything? The Milwaukees of the world, the Phoenixes of the world, the Heat, because they can't.
Well, the Heat could have, but I agree with you. The Suns had signed Royce O'Neal to a big boy contract, and that's all they could do.
That's it.
They are screwed, Suns. And I will not be surprised if midway through the year, if things aren't looking good, they ship a couple of their guys out.
Well, the only guy that I think, Devin Booker, but he's not going anywhere. But Durant,
I think he might be on the move midseason if it's not looking good.
Yeah, and the fans, the casual fans all say, well, why don't you get rid of Beal? Well, Beal is the only player in the NBA who has a
no trade clause.
So if he likes the Phoenix Sun, which is nice out there, it's good, to dry heat.
And if they're not sending him where he wants to go, he'll just say, no.
Yeah, he'll pull a Dikembe Mutombo. No. So for those teams' fans, and certainly Heat are in that category, I sympathize. I feel your pain. It's hard to sit out an entire free agency season, but that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
So interesting stuff, right? And we got Summer League coming up next episode.
Or in the line, because we have all the different Summer Leagues: California Classic, Salt Lake City, and then the Las Vegas. But yeah, we'll definitely talk about Summer League in the next episode, and I think that's it.
You think Lauri Markkanen will still be a Utah Jazz?
He should come to the 305. But yeah, let us know in the comments below if you agree with our winners and losers, and just your thoughts on some of these big time signings. And we'll see y'all next week. Peace.